Guys, I wanted to take today to talk about the dumbbell bench press, which is a very commonly used exercise to train pitchers, but it's one that's a little bit misunderstood and that we cue a little bit differently than some other coaches. So the main differences is a lot of guys, A, think they need to go as light as possible in this movement to not get muscle bound or tight through their pecs, and B, a lot of guys aren't actually getting full range of motion at this movement. So you can train your pecs heavy, you can train your pecs through a full range of motion, and you can actually improve your mobility if you're doing this properly. So there's a couple different ways that we cue this to make sure that it's not only safe on your shoulder, but you're able to still go heavy and still reap the full rewards of it. So general overview, a lot of guys aren't getting full range of motion. So they're stopping prematurely, they're stopping at 90 degrees. Even if they're touching their chest, they might not be getting a full actual stretch at their pecs. Second thing is this is a pec movement, not a tricep movement. So a lot of guys are trying to do a tricep press and emphasizing triceps versus the pecs. The whole idea here is that we're training horizontal abduction. So we want to be able to train strength through that fully lengthened pectoral position so that when we get to that position in our throwing motion, at that full pec stretch, that scapuloid position, whatever you want to call it, we have strength out of the end range. We're not just strong from here to here. Okay, we're going to go over some of the safety tips as far as how to do this safely, and I'm going to kind of take you through what a sample dumbbell bench press workout would look like for me. Again, this can apply to any variation, single arm, two arm. I'm going to show you alternating dumbbell bench press. That's the one I'm using right now in my current training cycle. So a lot to cover. I'm going to take you guys through it. Okay, the first thing is going to be the setup. This is something that a lot of guys screw up. You want to make sure that you're not having to start the dumbbells from the bottom position. And the way that you do that, and not necessarily needing a spotter to help you get the weight up, is start with the dumbbells towards the end of your knees. If you have them right here, then when you lay back, you're at the bottom position. If you have them towards the end of your knees, then as you lay back, your arms are going to be extended. So we're more or less locking our arms, and as we lay back, we're using our knees to kick the weight up, keeping the arms straight, stabilizing, boom. Okay, the next thing once we get to this position, I'm going to sit up just to show you, is we want to be able to tuck our scaps down and back at the bottom position. The point being, if you look at me from the side, if my scaps are just set right here, a little bit anteriorly tilted, and I go all the way down to my chest, this is what happens at my shoulder joint. Okay, if I tuck my scaps down and back, I'm in a much safer position at the front of my shoulder. So I'm not putting stress on the structures in front of the shoulder. I'm not exacerbating any anterior laxity, cranking on the bicep tendon. So scaps down and back, really important, so that at the bottom, we're getting a full pec stretch, but we're in a safe position at our shoulder itself. So what that looks like, can we get up? Okay, this is a flat thoracic spine. Scaps are not tucked down and back. We're just going to shift our weight onto our upper traps. So all it looks like is this, right there. So now my weight is on my upper traps. I have a little bit of an arch through my low back. No crazy arch, nothing like you see in powerlifting, but I have a slight arch, weight on my upper traps. Boom, now I'm in a good position to press. So when I come down, I'm getting a full pec stretch without cranking on that front of that shoulder too much. So right there, thumb to nipple is the depth that we cue, and from here we're firing with our pec. Okay, we talk about tricep versus pec pressing. A tricep press looks like this. I'm really emphasizing elbow flexion and the tricep to press the weight. A pec press looks like this. I'm thinking thumb to nipple, getting a stretch through my chest, and I'm trying to initiate the press from my pec, not from my tricep. Okay, so that's a subtle difference, but that's one that's very important when it comes to actually getting the muscle recruitment where we want it from. You're going to have some tricep activation no matter what you do, but we want to make sure that we really are emphasizing the mind-muscle connection from the pecs, not the triceps. The reason that we cue more of a neutral grip elbow position rather than an elbows flared to 90 degrees elbow position is that on the whole, over a population of pitchers, this has, in our experience, led to a lot less anterior shoulder issues. So when we're talking about the AC joint, bicep tendon, we have had guys who couldn't dumbbell bench press 50 pounds out at 90 degrees without flaring up some AC joint issues. But at the same time, they were able to come in and bench press 100, 110 pound dumbbells with a neutral grip, no issues whatsoever. So while you will have guys that are able to get away with more of that elbows flared position, even for years without any issues, there are going to be guys where this flares up their issues. So we're trying to pick variations and positioning that over the whole, guys are going to be able to do that in a much more shoulder friendly way, not flare up any issues that they don't have to. As far as the dismount, the main thing to focus on here is not just dropping the dumbbells from the bottom position once you finish the set. What happens there is you end up putting a lot more stress on the anterior shoulder on the bicep tendon as you throw the weights. So what we want to do is finish your set. And once we get both arms extended, we're going to bring the knees to the dumbbells, not the dumbbells to the knees. Okay, we're going to bring the knees up, and from there, let the weights sit us up on our own. So the weight helps sit you up, and this is a much safer way to dismount the dumbbells, especially once you start going heavier weight. Showing a couple speed/warm-up sets here. Notice the full setup. I'm showing alternating dumbbell bench here, but same rules apply. I'm trying to fire out of the bottom position, kind of capture some of that elastic energy and fire from my pec. So you notice I'm being a little bit bouncy out of that bottom while still controlling that end range in a very safe way. Okay, notice the tucked elbows, notice the weight on the upper traps, scaps tucked down and back. And again, I'm trying to move these warm-up sets fast. There's the same exact emphasis on speed, mind-muscle connection, and focus as I would have on my heavier sets. So still moving the weight quickly, even if it is a little bit of a lighter set.